bringing it back to Japan. Ego wakarimasen. Ego wakarimasen. Aji America Jin. Ego.
How's it going, guys? Public Safety Network here for another video. I kind of decided to talk about a topic today that I feel kind of gets overlooked in the security field. It didn't really start coming into prominence until 5 or 6 years ago, and that's the carrying of IFAKs and TACMED. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell icon to let you know when I release new videos. And obviously I have upwards of 30 videos now that if you haven't watched yet, go ahead and go back and watch all of them. So what is TACMED? TACMED is tactical medicine, is a medical specialty used to sustain life during a crisis event, usually shootings, terrorist attacks, mass killings, any number of those things. You learn a variety of skills, including the application of chest seals, use of tourniquets, Israeli bandages, wound packing, and then also how to carry injured people to evacuation sites, cold zones where they can be treated by more advanced medical personnel. It's a very important skill that a lot of times gets overlooked. As I've said in other types of videos like this is not to be considered training. You know, once you finish this video, you're not trained in TACMED or anything like that. This is just going to kind of give you more of an overview of, obviously, things to consider after you've gotten some type of training, possible items you may want to carry in an IFAK. Important note, guys, is that IFAKs stand for Individual First Aid Kits, and they are generally designed for you. This gear is generally to sustain your own life. If you become injured in a stabbing, shooting, whatever event like that. Not to say that you can't use it for someone else, but its primary objective is to be used for you in order to keep you alive long enough to get to advanced medical care. So we're going to kind of talk about some possible items you might want to carry and then kind of give you a brief description of each item and why it might be important to carry. We're going to go over compressed gauze, gauze with hemostatic agents, Israeli bandage, tourniquets, chest seals, and although it's not going to get a slide itself, you may want to consider trauma shears. They're pretty much just medical scissors, so that I really didn't feel the need to make a slide for that. The first thing we're going to talk about is probably one of the most important, and that is tourniquets. Tourniquets are used to pretty much stop excessive bleeding on limbs. Usually it's going to be an arm or leg. This is generally going to be a secondary option if the first option of applying pressure doesn't work. So if you're trying to apply pressure to a wound, it's not working, tourniquet's generally going to be the next option on the list. It said parts of the tourniquet, it's two. There's the constricting band, and then also the windlass, which is going to cause the constriction band to tighten, cutting off blood flow. It's pretty much like a faucet. You turn it until the bleeding stops. There are two of the most common types of tourniquets is going to be the Combat Applications Tourniquet, or CAT tourniquet, and the second one is going to be the Special Operations Force Tactical Tourniquet, or SOFT-T. These are the ones that are used mostly by security, law enforcement, the military, for critical type incidents. There are other types of tourniquets out on the market, like the SWAT tourniquet, which I am also trained in. However, similar to the RAT tourniquet, if there are other options available, like if I have a CAT or a SOFT-T, or the option to get a CAT or SOFT-T, that is going to be my primary option. Again, these are great tools to have, not only while on duty, but also in your personal life. Carry one. I have a few different, I believe I have 2 CATs and a SOFT-T, and I generally carry one in my personal vehicle because you never know. It's not just about shootings and stabbings. It could also be you come across a car accident, may need to use it to save someone's life. So it's actually just a good thing to have in general on an everyday basis. The next thing we're going to talk about is an Israeli bandage. It's also known as an emergency bandage. This was developed by the Israeli military. It's got a few features. It's a sterile, non-adhesive dressing to allow the removing the bandage without reopening the wound. It also has a pressure applicator placed over the top to stop bleeding by applying pressure to the wound. As we talked about with the tourniquet, generally applying pressure is going to be your first choice, and a closure bar to ensure the bandage to secure it and add pressure to the wound. So pretty much Israeli bandages are kind of like a twofold item. They allow you to put pressure on the wound and kind of wrap it up, again, to get this person to more advanced medical care, whether that's paramedics, whether that's a hospital, whatever they need to do in order to get this wound taken care of. Israeli bandages are a great way to do that. to keep them alive long enough to get them to advanced medical care. And I mean, you can use them pretty much anywhere. I generally tend to see them used on extremities like arms or legs, but there are other options available. They come in 3 different types. That's roller, tubular, and triangular. I believe roller is the most popular option. That's the one that I carry. So the next one we're going to talk about is chest seals. Chest seals are used to treat traumatic abdominal wounds, sucking chest wounds, puncture lungs through external trauma. They contain an adhesive that sticks in a vent that allows accumulated air and blood to kind of spill out. So pretty much it's a little sticky pad that you stick on open wounds in the abdominal area that are accumulating air and blood, and it allows the blood and air to vent out while preventing new air and from getting into the wound. I always tell people, if you're going to buy these, they do sell them in individuals, but I would always buy them in packs of 2 because if someone gets shot, there's usually going to be an entry and exit wound, so it's best to have 2 just in case. And guys, the adhesive will break down, so replace after an extended period of time. So like if you've had these sitting in your IFAK for 4 or 5 years, it's probably best to replace them at this point because it will eventually break down. Next thing we're going to talk about is it's called combat gauze, or it's gauze with the hemostatic agent. Hemostatic agents are a material, I guess you could say. I don't really know how to phrase it. That helps blood to clot. So when you apply hemostatic gauze to a wound, they do sell it in powder format, although I've never used it or been trained to use it, so I really don't know much about it. It's going to help the blood to start clotting, which is obviously the important part that stops people from bleeding. So carrying gauze with hemostatic agent, guys, I definitely implore you with this is to get training on the use of gauze with the hemostatic agent. This isn't something that realistically I would want someone who doesn't know how to use it to use on somebody, because you are clotting someone's blood. There can be consequences to this, and so it's probably best to know how to use this before you just decide to go use it on someone. Because again, although you may save their life, it can have drastic consequences down the road. It's got a shelf life of about 5 years. So after about 5 years, if you haven't used it, go ahead and throw it away. Get a new one. The one in the photo is Celex, which is actually the brand that I carry. I got trained on it. I do like it. So if you're looking for a good brand of gauze with hemostatic agent, Celex would probably be my top pick for you. And the last one that is, I'll include it in the hemostatic agent gauze, is compressed gauze. It's pretty much a gauze that kind of expands when it comes in contact with moisture. So obviously, if you're packing a wound that's bleeding, it's going to pretty much come out and you're going to be able to use it to pack the wound. Obviously, it doesn't have a hemostatic agent, so it's a secondary option to the gauze with hemostatic agent. So all of those good options. These are all things to kind of look at, guys. I'm going to include in the description links to all of these items from a few different sources, and then also I'm going to link at the bottom a course called Stop the Bleed. Stop the Bleed is a course taught usually by law enforcement personnel, medical personnel, nurses, doctors, EMTs, stuff like that, and it's going to teach you how to treat a lot of these more traumatic, catastrophic wounds. I recommend the course to anybody. Most places it's either free or it's at very minimal cost. I think the most expensive I've seen is maybe $30, and it's like a 2 to 3 hour course. Good information to have, even if you're not in security or law enforcement or any of these types of fields. It's good to know this because you never know when you're going to stumble across a situation that these skills could be useful in. But thanks for watching, guys. I know I haven't been posting a lot. I'm trying to get back on it. Life gets crazy, and sometimes you let things go to the wayside, but I'm definitely going to try to keep up. Thanks you guys for the continued support. The subscriber count still continues to go up. View count, all of this continues to go up, and I want to thank you guys for that. If you haven't already, like I said at the very beginning, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the videos, watch all of my content, like me on Facebook, and you can like me on Instagram, although I'm not as active on Instagram as I probably should be. But thanks for the continued support, guys. Stay safe out there, and have a good day.